Hi class, Miss Lockhart here. Today you're going to need a round tracer, and I'm going to use my cup here and a pencil and something to color with. I'll be using colored pencils, and I'll show you how to do this with a few other materials as well, like oil pastels and watercolor paints. So first you need your pencil and your tracer. Okay, you need to trace 3 circles on white paper. So I'm going to hold this down, and you want this circle to be about the size of your hand, the inside of your hand, or a little bigger even. See what I mean? It's about the size of your fist. Okay, now I'm going to do 3 of those. It doesn't matter where on the page, because you're going to cut them out next class. Okay, here's the 3rd one. Great. Now, before we start coloring, we need to go ahead and outline where our 3 different color values are going to go. So let's go ahead and draw a crescent by starting with a curved line, and then bring it out and do another curved line a little further away from it. So it looks like a happy face, an open happy face, or a crescent, like a moon. Go ahead and do that in all 3. This crescent is going to represent the lightest tint, or the area where the light hits it the most. So it's bright, and it's just going to be white like the paper. Now there's going to be a layer around it that's going to be a little bit darker. Okay, so try to draw lightly. Do you see my light pencil line? I'm going to end up erasing these later. Then we want, well, I guess that is 3, isn't it? It's light, medium, dark. Let's stick with that. So here we have our crescent, and around it we want our next layer of color, which will be medium. So we have light, medium, dark. And again over here, light, medium, dark. So now you choose what you're going to use to color with. I know it's a little hard to see those pencil lines. Please try your best to see them. And I'll show you in just a minute when I go over it with the materials we're going to use. So first I'm going to show you with colored pencils. Now I am using Prismacolors, which are great, but any colored pencils will work. Just make sure you use a color that isn't too light, like yellow or light green. Now the first thing I'm going to do is the darkest side of my circle. So I'm going to outline the outside here where I know I'm going to have my darkest value, which is going to be this inside section. Remember how we sectioned it off? So notice when I traced over this line, I didn't go as dark as I did over here. So outline this outside line, pretty dark, go over the pencil, and then you can outline that inner middle line, circle line, a little bit lighter, because remember this is going to be a lighter area. Now you fill it in. Okay, so the further back you go, the darker you get, and you can press down harder, and then make sure it's a little bit lighter as it gets to that middle circle, so it's easy to transition over to the lightest shade here, or lightest, I guess it would really be a tint. That would be a tint. The darker part of the color value is the shading, and the lighter part of the color value, the lighter end of the gradient, is the tint. You can create that using colored pencils or paint or oil pastels. So you see here, this layer is quite dark. It just gets a little bit lighter as it gets closer to that middle line. Now we're going to cut these out, so if you color outside the line, it's okay. Alright, so our outside row is dark. Let's do the medium color value, okay? Now this is quite light. It's, I say it's medium, but we don't want to press down too dark. Okay, that should probably be the darkest right there. And then as we get closer to the crescent, we want it to be lighter. And the crescent needs to stay white. So you can go ahead and outline that crescent with a very, very light outline. And then fill in that area with a light tint, which is just the color you used before, and don't press down as hard. And it'll be lighter. And you'll see the gradient from dark over here, medium, and then light is that little crescent. And I'll be doing this again to show you again with paint and an oil pastel. So if you haven't had a chance to use oil pastels or paint yet, you can skip ahead and watch those demonstrations. So now that I have my dark and my next color, I really am just trying to make it look even. You see how I messed up and got it really dark over here? I'm going to erase that in just a minute. But I'm going to try to make the dark have a nice transition from super dark over to light. So I'm going to go over it a little bit more so I can get another layer in there. That middle layer, dark, medium, and then the crescent is light. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I need my eraser so I can erase some of this that got too dark. Hopefully I can erase it okay. I'm going to erase around the crescent just a little bit too. Yeah, that looks nice. There we go. So in case you forgot to erase that pencil line before, you can erase. And I like to spread that eraser out a little bit more and even erase around the crescent so that it lessens the color and takes a little bit of color away, which creates a whole nother value, a whole nother tint. So it goes dark, that's like super dark, and then a little less dark, medium, light, and then super light. So it's like 4 or 5 different values if you use your eraser and press down quite hard over here. Okay, everybody, now let's use an oil pastel. It's hard to choose what color. I think red. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna use red. Okay, I'm gonna use oil pastel now to do color value here on this ornament. Just like before, I want to erase that crescent just a little bit so that we don't see the dark pencil line. I'm gonna go ahead and lightly erase this outside line too, because I'm not gonna want too much of that dark pencil line, but I can still see where they are. And now I'm going to use my orange oil pastel and go ahead and outline the opposite side of the crescent. Now you can see I cut this out. You're probably wondering why. You don't need to cut yours out yet. I did that because I made a mistake on my paper. And I'll fix up the edge when we cut it out together in just a minute. Okay, so I did the outline of that. Now I'm not going to press down as hard right there. And that area right in here is all going to be dark. And then it's going to get lighter toward the middle. So let's start to fill it in. Dark, 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 dark. And then as you get closer to the middle, lighter. So don't press down as hard. So dark on the outside. Press down a little lighter as you get toward that middle line. Okay. Oil pastels are really nice because what you can do is you can blend 2 colors together as if you were using paint and mixing colors. So it's great for color value because you can put a lighter color like white or yellow to make the color actually get lighter. So I'm almost done here with my darkest shade of orange. Now oil pastels can be a little messy too, but they are quite nice and dark or opaque, like you can't see through them very much if you go over it and over it. So you can see I'm going over the darkest dark because I really do want it to be nice and dark and opaque, which means I can't see through it, especially here on the outside where it's supposed to be the darkest. Okay, now as we get to the middle, I'm going to color it in really light. I'm also going to introduce a light color. So remember there's a crescent in there, so be careful. You can even outline that crescent shape. Do you see how I created that outline? Fill that in very gently and lightly with the light color of what you're using. And then, since you're using oil pastels, let's mix in another color to see it blend. So here's yellow, and yellow is naturally lighter than orange, which is great. So if you're using orange, perfect. Look how nice it is when you blend colors. So all I'm doing is going over the orange with yellow, and it mixes it together because it's oily. I'm going to go over it, and you can see this is one of my lightest tints of the color. I'm even going to bring this yellow back here a little bit to fill in some of the white where I couldn't get all the orange to fill it in. Now my ornament is a yellow-orange color. Okay, and I left the crescent white because that is the brightest area. I could put a little bit more yellow in there though, but leave it mostly white. Okay, so there's our orange ornament, and I'll cut it out to make it look real nice next week. Okay, so far we have 2. We should have light to dark on both of our ornaments, and for the third. Now, I told you I'd show you how to use paint. If you're using oil pastels, you can continue on doing your oil pastels, and again, with your color pencils, you can continue on using your color pencils if